Hello, friends. You're watching The Night Watchman, where every day you'll hear a brand new horror story that will send chills down your spine. But to keep bringing you these terrifying tales, we need your love and support. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's begin the story. Now we're Yadi. I never used to be afraid of long drives. If anything, the open road was the one place I felt like I could breathe. Back home in Maple Bend, Ohio, everything had started collapsing at once. My job at the auto parts store, my 4-year relationship with Jordan, even my sense of what the hell I was doing with my life. When the breakup happened, I thought I'd bounce back fast, but the silence in my apartment hit me harder than I ever expected. That's why when my best friend Alyssa Hart, who I'd known since 7th grade, suggested a cross-country trip before she moved to Seattle for a new job, I said yes before she even finished the sentence. We were both 26, both stuck, both needing something to shake the dust off our lives. We planned a week-long drive from Ohio to Northern California, stopping through Omaha, Cheyenne, Salt Lake City, and then straight through Nevada to the coast. A simple adventure, nothing dramatic. God, if I had known how wrong I was. We left Maple Bend on a humid July morning. Alyssa drove the first stretch in her old 2008 Ford Escape, the one with the squeaky front axle and the AC that worked only when it felt like it. But the windows rolled down, the music was loud, and for the first time in months, I felt the shadow in my chest loosen. By day 2, we were somewhere outside Lincoln, Nebraska, laughing over a bag of sour gummies, talking about stupid high school memories. Like the time Alyssa dyed my hair purple on a dare, and my mom didn't talk to me for a week. It felt normal again, safe. On the third evening, we crossed into Wyoming, a wide, empty landscape painted gold by the setting sun. The road was so open it looked like it stretched forever. We weren't even tired. Not yet. I swear, Alyssa said, drumming her fingers on the steering wheel. If life felt like this more often, I'd never complain about anything again. I smiled. You complain about literally everything. Exactly. And I'd stop. We laughed, and for a second, I believed her. It was almost 9:20 p.m. when we pulled into a gas station in a small place called Ridgeview Crossing. Not even a town, just a single pump, a flickering sign, and a freezer humming too loudly. I stepped out, stretching my stiff legs. A black SUV was parked at the far end of the lot, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. The engine was running, though, a low rumble vibrating through the quiet. Alyssa nudged me. You think it's sketchy? Everything's sketchy after sunset, I joked, but I didn't really feel like laughing. Inside, the clerk was a man in his 60s, wearing a flannel jacket even though it wasn't cold. He stared at us like he'd never seen outsiders before. You two traveling through, he asked as we set snacks on the counter. Yeah, Alyssa said. Heading to Utah tonight. The man paused mid-scan. His expression tightened. Don't take County Route 14, he said quietly. Even if your GPS tells you to. Roads out there ain't lit. No cell service for miles. Alyssa lifted an eyebrow. Is it unsafe? The man didn't blink. Some folks don't come back from there. A chill slid down my spine. He handed us our receipt, then added, if you see headlights behind you and they flash at you, keep going. Don't stop. No matter what. I tried to laugh it off, but the way he said it, the stillness in his voice, made my stomach knot. When we stepped outside, the SUV was gone. We got back on the highway, the sky now a deep navy blue. The GPS told us to take exit 233, which connected to, you guessed it, County Route 14. Alyssa slowed, frowning. You want to risk it? Maybe he was just being dramatic, I said, though I didn't believe myself. But we were tired and the detour added an hour. So we took the exit. The road changed quickly. No streetlights, no houses, just tall grass and silence. The darkness felt heavier here, like it had weight. 20 minutes in, the radio signal died. Alyssa groaned. Great. Just keep going, I said. This road connects back to the interstate. That's when I saw them, headlights in the distance. Getting closer. Alyssa's grip on the wheel tightened. Okay, someone's behind us. I didn't think anything of it, until the car sped up, closing the distance with unnatural speed. That's really fast, I whispered. Within seconds, the vehicle was right behind us, a black SUV, the same model as the one at the station. My heartbeat slammed against my ribs. The SUV flashed its brights. Once, twice, 3 times. Alyssa's breathing turned shaky. Maybe something's wrong with our car. Don't stop, I remembered the clerk's voice. Whatever happens, Alyssa, don't stop. The SUV accelerated and swung left, pulling beside us. Though the windows were tinted, I could feel the presence inside, watching us. The driver rolled down his window. I didn't. The man leaned out slightly, a hood over his head. He motioned forcefully for us to pull over. Alyssa whispered, "What does he want?" I shook my head, throat tight. "Just keep driving." The man shouted something we couldn't hear, then pointed to the side of the road again. His voice finally cut through the wind. "Stop the car!" Alyssa flinched, her foot lifting instinctively like she might break. "Don't!" I cried. She slammed her foot back on the gas. The SUV jerked closer, inches from her door. He was trying to push us off the road. "Alyssa!" I grabbed the dashboard as the Escape swerved. "Floor it!" She did. The Ford roared forward, engine whining. But the SUV stayed with us. Too close. Too fast. Too deliberate. "What does he want?" Alyssa cried. "I don't know," I said, voice shaking. "But he's not helping us. He wants us stopped." A mile later, Alyssa gasped. "Look!" A narrow dirt road split off to the right with a small wooden sign. "Detroit Ridge Campground. 2 miles. "Take it," I shouted. "He can't follow us on that." Alyssa swerved sharply, and we bounced onto the dirt path. Dust exploded behind us like smoke. But the SUV didn't slow. It followed. "That's not possible," Alyssa whispered. "He's gonna wreck his car doing that. He doesn't care." The dirt road twisted into the darkness, branches scraping the sides of our car. The SUV stayed right on our tail, its headlights flooding every inch of our interior. Then the road curved sharply around a narrow ravine. Alyssa braked too late. The tires skidded. The car fishtailed. "Hold on!" We whipped around the turn. The SUV didn't. A metal scream tore through the air as it slid off the road, tumbling down the steep drop. The sound of crushing metal echoed into the night. Alyssa slowed, shaking violently. Oh my God, we have to help him." "No," my voice came out hoarse. "We don't know what he wanted. He chased us, Liz. He chased us for miles." She stared through the windshield, breath ragged. "I'm scared." "I know." We kept driving until the campground sign reappeared ahead. A wooden archway, dimly lit by a dying floodlight. A small convenience cabin sat near the entrance. A ranger's truck was parked out front. "We can ask for help," Alyssa said quickly. We parked and stumbled out, legs weak. I knocked on the cabin door. No answer. The door creaked open on its own. "Alyssa," I whispered. "Stay close." Inside, the ranger's radio crackled softly. A mug sat half full on the counter. A jacket hung on the wall, but nobody was there. Then I saw something on the corkboard, a printed warning flyer. "Missing persons, last seen near County Route 14. Dozens of faces, all travelers, all late-night drivers." A chill shot through me. Alyssa grabbed my arm. "Do you think—" Footsteps behind us, soft, slow, intentional. "Alyssa," I whispered, "run." We bolted out the door just as a figure stepped into the doorway behind us. Tall, hooded, face hidden, the same silhouette we saw leaning from the SUV. But how? How did he get out? How did he find us so fast? We didn't look back. We jumped into the Escape. Alyssa fumbled the keys, swore, jammed them in, and the engine caught. She slammed the gas, tearing down the narrow road. In the mirror, the figure stood in the glow of the cabin light, unmoving, watching, waiting. It took us almost an hour to reach a main highway. The second we got service, Alyssa called 911, sobbing. We gave them the location of the crash, the ranger station, everything we could. State troopers met us at a rest stop near Green River. 2 hours passed. Then an officer finally approached us. His expression was unreadable. "We checked the ravine," he said. "No vehicle, no debris, no tire marks." Alyssa paled. "That's impossible. We saw him go over." "We also checked the campground," the officer continued. "The cabin's been closed for 3 years. The ranger station moved after a wildfire." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What about—" The man, the one chasing us? The officer hesitated. Then he said quietly, "You're not the first travelers to report something like this on Route 14. I swallowed hard. What does that mean? It means, he said, you did the right thing by not stopping. Alyssa moved to Seattle. I stayed in Ohio. Life continued, but some nights I still wake up sweating, thinking about that hooded figure and those headlights burning through the dark. Alyssa and I don't talk about it often, but every year on the anniversary of the trip, one of us texts the other, 'Don't take County Route 14. It's our reminder, our warning, our survival. And whenever I'm driving alone late at night and the road stretches empty and endless, I still check my mirrors, just in case those headlights return.'" Story 2. I wasn't supposed to be on the road that night. If I'm being honest, I wasn't supposed to be anywhere except my apartment in Reno, curled under a blanket pretending my life wasn't slowly falling apart. But life doesn't wait for you to get yourself together, and death certainly doesn't. My name is Hannah Mercer, 23 years old, finishing a biology degree at the University of Nevada. I'd spent the last few months drowning in coursework, financial stress, and a breakup that had left a bruise on my heart deeper than anything I'd admit out loud. Then the call came. It was a Thursday night, 10:58 p.m. I just stepped out of the university lab after a study group, drained and hungry, when my phone vibrated. Dad flashed on the screen. Dad rarely called, texted even less. "Hannah?" His voice was rough, strained. "Yeah? What's wrong?" "It's your grandma. Margaret. She collapsed at home. Paramedics say it doesn't look good. If you want to see her, you need to come tonight." My stomach dropped. Grandma Margaret wasn't just a grandmother. She had been my anchor. After Mom died when I was 8, Grandma stepped in, raising me while Dad worked construction jobs across the state. She taught me to drive, helped me fill out my first college application, and carried the pieces of me I didn't know how to hold. "Is she awake?" I whispered. "No, they're trying, but just come, okay?" "I'm leaving right now." The hospital was in Red Rock Junction, a tiny desert town in Southeast California, almost 9 hours away. A long, lonely drive. But I didn't care. I threw books into my backpack, grabbed a charger, locked my apartment, and headed out into the cold. My old Subaru Forester rattled the moment I turned onto the highway. The desert night stretched wide and empty, the sky moonless, the roadside signs glowing a faint dull green. I cracked the windows to keep myself awake. The air was cold, sharp, carrying that dry Nevada smell, dust and sagebrush. I talked to myself just to stay conscious. "You're fine, Hannah. No falling asleep. Just music, just coffee, just pain and trauma. No big deal." I snorted at my own joke. The first 3 hours were nothing but open highway and static-filled radio. Eventually, I switched to the playlist Grandma made me when I first left for college. Old folk songs and soft acoustic tracks, she said, kept the soul steady. I kept replaying Dad's voice, the tremble in it, the fear he tried to hide. My eyes burned, but I kept driving. Somewhere deep into the California desert, the road split into a long, empty stretch known as the Sandridge Turnpike, a place no one stopped unless they needed gas or were running from something. At the intersection sat a single, faded gas station, Sandridge Fuel and Mart. 2 pumps, 1 flickering neon sign, and a parking lot that looked like it hadn't seen a broom since the 1980s. My tank was almost empty. I sighed. "All right, 5-minute stop, and that's it." Inside, the store was dimly lit, half the shelves empty. A tired, middle-aged cashier looked up from a crossword puzzle but didn't speak. "Morning," I said softly. He grunted. I grabbed a coffee, paid, and headed back to my car. The air was cold enough to sting. The sky was still dark. No sunrise yet. I leaned against the hood of my Subaru, sipping the awful coffee and checking my GPS. That's when my dad texted, "Call me when you're close. They're giving her something to keep her comfortable." My throat tightened. I wiped my eyes and whispered into the cold air, "Please hold on, Grandma. Please." A noise snapped me out of it. Footsteps. Behind my car. Slow. Dragging. I froze. The sound stopped. I turned my head. Nobody. Just empty desert and the faint hum of the neon sign. I exhaled shakily. You're tired, Hannah. You're imagining stuff. I tossed the empty cup, walked around to the passenger side, and opened my backpack to grab gum. That's when someone whispered, "Hey, right behind me." I jumped so violently the bag spilled onto the ground. Gum, charger, notebooks. A man stood 5 feet away, mid-40s, sunburned, hollow cheeks, wearing a dusty denim jacket and heavy work boots. His eyes were dark, unfocused, as if he hadn't slept in years. "Jesus, you scared me," I said, clutching my chest. He stepped closer. "Car trouble?" "No, it's fine." I forced a smile. "Just passing through. Long night." He stared at me for a moment too long. "You shouldn't drive this road alone," he muttered. "Things happen out here." My skin prickled. "Yeah, I know. I'm almost done. Thanks, though." He glanced at my spilled belongings. "You dropped your things." He crouched, picking up my charger. "It's okay," I said quickly, reaching to grab it myself. He held it out but didn't let go when I pulled. His grip was tight, cold. "You look tired," he whispered. Something was wrong, very wrong. "Let go," I said. His jaw twitched. Then he smiled. Small, unnatural. "You should stay here a while. You shouldn't keep driving." I yanked the charger hard and stepped back. The man's eyes shifted behind me. To something, someone. I turned. Another man. Standing on the opposite side of the lot. Same hollow look. Same boots. My heartbeat thundered. I whispered, "No, no." I moved toward the driver's door. The first man stepped in front of me. "Where you headed?" he asked. "My family's waiting," I said, voice trembling. "Please, I just need to go." He tilted his head. "You won't make it." I lunged for the driver's door. He grabbed my arm. Hard, I screamed. He clamped his hand over my mouth, dragging me back. I kicked, clawed, twisting violently. "No, no, no, help!" My scream came out muffled and raw. The second man rushed over. "Hold her! She's small. She won't fight long." My vision blurred. Adrenaline surged. I elbowed the first man in the ribs. He swore, loosening his grip. I dropped to the gravel and crawled under the car. "Hannah, don't!" the man shouted as he lunged. I scrambled out the other side, gravel shredding my palms. I sprinted toward the store. "Help! Help me!" I hit the glass door with my shoulder. Locked. The cashier inside looked up, eyes wide. He froze. "Open it!" I screamed. He didn't. He just stared. The men's boots slammed the pavement behind me. I whipped around, heart exploding. Headlights. A dusty blue pickup truck screeched into the lot, engine roaring. A woman in paramedic scrubs jumped out. "What's going on?" The men bolted, straight into the desert, running like they'd done it before. The woman rushed to me. "Oh my God, are you hurt?" I don't..." My voice broke. "They grabbed me. They tried to..." "I don't know. Please don't let them come back." She guided me into her truck, locking the doors. Her name was Angela Ruiz, an EMT heading home from an overnight shift. She called 911 immediately. I sat shaking, crying so hard I could barely breathe. Angela held my hands. "Hey, look at me. You're safe, I promise. I'm right here." Deputies arrived within minutes. They searched. Nothing. No footprints. No tracks. Just empty desert, like the men had dissolved into sand. Angela drove behind the police escort until I reached Red Rock Junction Medical Center. Dad met me at the entrance, pulling me into a tight hug. "What happened to you?" he breathed when he saw the blood on my palms. "I'm fine," I whispered. "I'm here. That's what matters." He held me for a long moment. Grandma passed later that evening, quietly, peacefully, holding my hand. I never told Dad about the men at Sandridge. He had too much grief already. But every night after, when I closed my eyes, I saw their faces, their boots, their hands. And I knew, if Angela had driven in 30 seconds later, I would not be here. I drove back to the Sandridge Turnpike. I don't know why. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I needed to prove something to myself. The gas station was the same. Quiet, dusty, forgotten. But this time I didn't get out. I just watched the sun rise over the desert, the sky turning pink and gold. Then I texted Angela, the EMT who saved my life. Thank you. I'm still here because of you. Her reply came 30 seconds later. Then that was a good shift. I cried the entire drive home. Story 3, I never used to overthink nighttime drives. If anything, I preferred them. Fewer cars, fewer distractions, and more space to let my thoughts settle. Back then, it felt like the road was the only place I could breathe. I was 27, living in a cramped apartment in Glendale, Arizona, juggling 2 jobs and the kind of lingering heartbreak you pretend doesn't bother you until you're alone at night. When my cousin Claire called asking if I could help move her pickup truck from Redwood Junction, New Mexico, to her new place in Pine Bend, Colorado, I said yes before even checking my schedule. I needed the break, any excuse to get away for a weekend. She flew ahead with her daughter, and I was supposed to leave early Saturday morning, drive the truck, and meet them by Sunday afternoon. But things never go the way you plan, because that weekend, my boss called and begged me to cover a Saturday shift. I needed the money, and I didn't want to let her down. So I said yes. That put me behind. Way behind. By the time I picked up Claire's truck, loaded her boxes, and fed her cat Melody, yes, she also had me drive with the cat, it was already 9:15 at night. Are you sure you want to leave this late? She asked over the phone, her voice tight with worry. I'll be fine, I said, forcing a laugh. I drive better at night anyway. That's not funny, Ian, she muttered. Those mountain roads get pitch black. I'll take the main route, I lied. Truth was, I already knew I wouldn't. I was exhausted and behind schedule, and the main highway added almost 2 hours. There was a shortcut. Redwood Line Road, a rural stretch that cuts straight across the valley. Claire specifically told me not to take it. It's isolated, she warned. No service, barely any houses, and that road gets weird at night. I brushed it off. Every small town had its ghost stories. Every back road had its warnings. I should have listened. The first hour was peaceful. Melody curled up in the back seat, purring faintly. The desert sky was clear at first, and I rolled the window down to breathe in the cool air. The radio played soft country songs, stuff Claire liked, and for a little while, the world felt manageable. Around 11:30 p.m., I passed the last gas station before Redwood Line Road. I thought about stopping, getting a snack, stretching my legs. But I just wanted to be done. The wind shifted suddenly. The clouds rolled in, thick and heavy, swallowing the stars whole. By midnight, rain started, a slow drizzle at first, then a hard, angry downpour that smacked the windshield like handfuls of pebbles. I turned down a narrow road marked by a faded, half-bent sign, Redwood Line. 19 miles. The moment I entered that stretch, everything felt wrong. Not scary, not supernatural, just wrong. The air was heavier, the trees densely packed on both sides, and the rain, it wasn't normal. It was the kind that made the world disappear beyond 10 feet. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. Just drive, I muttered to myself. Just get through it. Around the 5-mile mark, I noticed something strange. Every few minutes, I'd see the same thing. A pair of reflectors, those little yellow dots stuck to posts along rural roads. Except they weren't on posts. They were too far apart, too high, almost like eyes. I shook the thought away, telling myself it was fatigue. Then I hit a pothole so deep the truck bounced hard, and Melody jolted awake with a loud hiss. Sorry, girl, I whispered, reaching back to calm her. When my hand brushed the seat, I felt the map Claire had left me. A crumpled paper with the route drawn in red marker. Avoid Redwood Line at night, she'd written in the corner. For the first time, I wondered why. It happened around mile 11. The road curved sharply around a cluster of old pines, and as I slowed, I spotted a figure standing in the rain. A man, tall, soaked through, barefoot. He stood completely still, no waving, no shouting, just facing the road, head slightly tilted as if listening. I instinctively locked the doors. What the hell? I murmured. My headlights washed over him, and I saw his face. Or rather, I didn't. The rain blurred everything except one detail. His eyes were wide open, unblinking. I drove past slowly, expecting him to turn or step back or react like any normal person would when a vehicle approached. He didn't. He just stared straight ahead. I swallowed hard. Keep going. Don't stop. My hands trembled as the truck crawled forward. The rain hammered harder, drowning the sound of Melody's distressed meowing behind me. For a brief second, I let myself believe it was over, until I looked in the rearview mirror. The man had turned, not slowly, not naturally. His entire upper body snapped toward the truck like something out of a glitching video. And then, he stepped into the road. Jesus Christ! I hit the gas. The truck fishtailed, mud spraying from the tires, but I managed to correct it and speed away from him. My heart slammed against my ribs. "What the hell was that?" Melody cried out as the truck lurched forward. I didn't look back again. I couldn't. I felt like if I did, I'd see him right behind me. The rain became a wall. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. The truck groaned with every pothole. "Come on, just a few more miles," I whispered. That's when I heard it. Clack. A metallic sound from the right side of the truck. I turned, confused. The passenger door, the one Claire warned me about, shifted. At first I thought it was the wind. Then it unlatched. The door cracked open an inch. Rain blew inside, cold and sharp. "No, no, no, no." I slammed my arm across the seat, trying to yank it shut, but it pushed back as if someone was on the other side pulling. "Stop!" My voice cracked with panic. "Just stop!" I pulled harder, veins bulging in my arm. Then, a hand, a soaked, pale hand, gripped the edge of the door. I screamed, jerking back so hard I slammed into the driver's door. The hand pulled, slowly, patiently. I hit the gas again, truck roaring, mud spraying. The hand slipped away, but not before I saw something impossible. The fingers were bent backward, as if broken or rearranged. I slammed the door shut with all my strength and kept my hand on the lock. "Please," I whispered, voice trembling, "please let me get out of here." I drove blind, tires sliding in the mud, chest tightening with every breath. The rain softened for a second, and I saw something ahead. A sign. Pine Bend. 8 miles, I almost cried. Then I saw movement in the trees again. A shadow running parallel to the truck. Fast. Way too fast. "No!" I pressed the accelerator to the floor. The truck shook violently, the wheels barely gripping the road. The shadow kept pace, then surged ahead, then disappeared. When I finally reached the end of Redwood Line and hit real pavement, it felt like crossing into another world. The lights of a small diner glowed through the rain like a lighthouse. I pulled into the parking lot and sat there, chest heaving. I didn't even realize I was crying until a waitress knocked on my window. "Sir, are you hurt?" I couldn't speak. All I managed was a shaky, "Door, something tried to get in." She helped me inside, got me water, called the sheriff. Deputy Mark Hansen arrived first, tall, bearded, calm in a way that made me feel slightly less insane. "You said Redwood Line?" he asked gently. I nodded. He exhaled slowly, rubbing the back of his neck. "You're not the first to report something out there." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "People call him different thing," he said. "Some say he's a drifter. Some say a killer. Some think it's something else entirely." "What is he?" I asked, voice cracking. Hansen hesitated. "We don't know," he finally said. "We never see him on camera. No footprints, no vehicles. Just people describing the same figure, same behavior, rainy nights only." I swallowed hard. "Did anyone ever get hurt?" He looked away. "Some folks never made it out." My blood ran cold. Hansen placed a hand on my shoulder. "You were lucky tonight, Ian. Very lucky." I stayed at the diner until sunrise. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. When the sun finally broke through the clouds, I stepped outside and inspected the truck. There were muddy handprints on the passenger door, long streaks, fingers dragging downward. And the strangest part? They weren't shaped right, almost like they didn't bend where human fingers should. I delivered the truck to Claire later that morning. She hugged me, asked how the drive was. I couldn't bring myself to tell her the full truth. That night when she texted, "Did you end up taking Redwood Line?" I just replied, "No, and I never will again. I still drive, but only in daylight, never through forests, never during storms. And if I'm ever on a lonely road and see a man standing silently in the rain, I keep driving, no matter what." Story 4. I never used to fear long drives. If anything, they calmed me. The hum of the tires, the passing lights, the empty stretch of highway, it always felt like the world slowed down just enough for me to breathe. Back then, night driving was my therapy. That was before what happened on County Road 19. Before I learned what real fear feels like when there's no one around to hear you scream. My name's Evan Markley, and in the summer of 2016, I was 24 and stuck in a life that felt like wet cement. I grew up in Redwood Bluff, a tiny town tucked deep into rural northern Minnesota, population 612 on a good year. We had one diner, one hardware store, two gas stations that smelled permanently like diesel, and a sheriff's office where half the deputies were cousins of people they'd arrested. Most kids dreamed of leaving, but most never did. Jobs were scarce, and the nearest city with actual opportunities was 3 hours away. My dad always joked that Redwood Bluff wasn't a town, just a place people ended up when they missed their exit by a decade. My friends, Caleb, Mason, and Ty and I were the exceptions. Or at least we tried to be. We'd spent years planning little escapes, taking weekend drives to Duluth, Fargo, sometimes even as far as Rapid City, just to pretend we were living bigger lives. So when Caleb suggested a road trip to Denver, something inside me lit up. "A full week, man," he'd said, shoving a road atlas across my kitchen table. "Just us. Cheap motels, new places, no work schedules, no town gossip. We need this." He was right. My job at the lumber mill had become a dead-end routine. My ex, Lauren, had moved out 3 months earlier, leaving our apartment echoing with quiet. And my dad's health had started slipping, forcing me to face truths I wasn't ready for. So yeah, I needed that trip. We all did. We planned everything. Gas stops, motels, emergency budget. I had just bought a used 2008 Chevy Malibu, silver with one mismatched hubcap. We cleaned it out, loaded snacks, grabbed a cheap cooler filled with sodas, and took off early on a Thursday morning. By the time we reached South Dakota, spirits were high. Music loud, windows down. It felt like we'd outrun everything heavy. But the world has a way of shifting on you without warning. It started near Bear Creek Rest Area, sometime around midnight. We were an hour past schedule because Ty insisted on stopping at every roadside attraction. I didn't mind. The air was cool, the sky clear. "We'll crash at the motel in Brookhaven," Mason said from the back seat, already half asleep. Yeah, I muttered, adjusting my grip on the wheel. "Just need a minute to stretch." Caleb climbed out to smoke. Ty walked around the back to pee behind a dumpster, and I leaned against the hood, staring into the stretch of dark pine trees that swallowed the rest area. The night was too quiet. Not peaceful quiet, dead quiet. No bugs, no wind, no rustling. Just stillness. "Guys," Ty called suddenly, voice tight. "You seen this?" We all turned. Down the service road, about 50 yards away, a figure stood at the tree line. Tall, thin, completely motionless. I couldn't see a face, just a long silhouette, like someone wearing a coat that hung too low. A cold weight settled in my stomach. "Probably just some trucker stretching his legs," Caleb said, though he didn't sound convinced. But the figure didn't move, didn't shift, didn't even breathe as far as I could tell. When we finally got back into the car and pulled away, I checked the rearview mirror. The figure was still there, still staring, still perfectly still. We tried shaking it off. Travel exhaustion, imagination, shadows in the dark. We told ourselves anything that made sense. But an hour later, while passing an empty farm road, headlights appeared behind us. A white cargo van, no windows, no markings, just two bright headlights locked on us. "That thing wasn't there a minute ago," Mason muttered. Caleb twisted to look. "Dude, it's gaining on us." I pressed the gas. The van matched our speed. Every turn we took, it followed. Every mile, it stayed exactly 4 car lengths behind. "Should we stop?" Ty whispered. Hell no, I snapped. My palms were slick on the wheel. Then the van drifted closer, too close. Its headlights flared, blinding us. Jesus! Caleb shielded his face. What the hell is he doing? I swerved slightly, but the van adjusted instantly, like it was tethered to us. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it turned off. No signal. No gradual slowing. It vanished into a gravel road in one smooth, almost mechanical motion. None of us spoke for several minutes. We finally reached Brookhaven, only to find that our motel, the one we thought didn't need a reservation, was full. Of course it was. The next one? Full. The next 3? Full. Apparently, a regional baseball tournament had filled every room within 30 miles. We'll just sleep in the car, Caleb sighed. Find a spot, recline the seats, call it a night. We found a small turnout off County Road 19, surrounded by thick woods on both sides. No houses, no lights except the stars overhead. We should be fine, I said, though something about the woods felt wrong, like they were listening. Everyone drifted off, eventually except me. I sat awake, arms folded, watching condensation gather on the windshield. Every creak of the cooling engine felt too loud. Every groan of the trees made me tense. Around 3:17 a.m., Ty shook me awake. Evan, he whispered, eyes wide. I think someone's out there. I sat up, heart pounding. Where? He pointed toward the tree line. At first I saw nothing. Then something shifted. A shape, tall, wrong, oddly bent, moved between the trees. The same silhouette from the rest area, same height, same stillness. It stepped out just enough for me to see it more clearly. Not a face, just the suggestion of one. Too smooth, too long. Ty clutched my sleeve. It's watching us. Wake the others, wah, I whispered. But before he could move, the figure crouched. Then it began walking toward the car. Not running, not creeping, just walking, smoothly, deliberately, like it knew we couldn't leave fast enough. Guys, wake up, I snapped, slamming my hand on the steering wheel. Everyone bolted upright. What the? Go, go, Caleb shouted. I jammed the key, engine roaring. Headlights flared, and for a split second, the figure froze, like the light surprised it. But then it kept coming. I floored the gas. The tires spat gravel, and we tore down the road. No one spoke. Breaths came sharp, fast. When we finally reached the main highway, everyone sat in stunned silence. What? What the hell was that? Mason whispered. No one answered, because none of us knew. By sunrise, we were exhausted, snapping at each other, barely holding it together. The trip was ruined. Denver now felt like a joke. We should head back, I said finally. Forget the whole thing. Everyone agreed. We pulled into a little roadside rest stop near the Minnesota border. Just a bathroom building, a vending machine, an empty field stretching on forever. I need air, Mason muttered, stepping outside. Don't go far, I called. He nodded. 2 minutes passed. 5, 10. Where the hell is he? Caleb muttered. We split up. Caleb checking the bathroom, Ty scanning the parking lot, me walking toward the field behind the rest stop. Mason, I called. Wind rustled the grass. No answer. Mason, this isn't funny. Then I saw something. Footprints in the dirt, deep, far apart, like whoever made them wasn't walking normally. My stomach dropped. Mason, I shouted, voice cracking. No reply, just the endless field and a line of disturbed grass leading into the distance. By the time we called the police, the sun was fully up. They searched for hours. Dogs, drones, volunteers. Nothing. No sign of him. No torn clothing. No trail. Nothing. Just one set of footprints ending in the middle of an empty field. They questioned us for 2 days straight. We told them the truth, minus the figure in the woods, minus the white van. Who would believe that? Caleb moved to Arizona within a month. Ty stopped returning my calls. I quit the mill, moved back in with my dad, and tried to pretend life was normal. But it isn't. Because some nights, when the wind is still and the woods outside my window go quiet, I see a shape at the edge of the trees, tall, thin, perfectly still, watching, like it remembers me, like it's waiting. And sometimes, God, sometimes I swear I hear breathing beside me. Low, wet, hungry. Story 5. I never understood why people romanticize road trips. To me, long stretches of highway felt more like an endurance test than an adventure. Hours of monotony broken only by gas stations that smelled like burnt coffee and old rubber. But that summer, the summer before we all split for different colleges and jobs, I agreed to one last trip. One last stretch of time together before adulthood scattered us. There were 4 of us. Me, Elias Ward, my best friend Connor Briggs, Connor's girlfriend Maya Wells, and her younger brother Caleb. Barely 17, quiet, observant, always scribbling in a leather notebook he treated like treasure. The plan was simple. Drive from our hometown of Brookshade, Tennessee to the West Coast. 2 weeks of camping, cheap motels, state parks, greasy fast food, and memories we could cling to later. We left on June 11th, 2018. I remember the morning too clearly, the humidity sitting heavy on my skin, the mosquitoes circling my ankles, and my mom standing in the driveway giving her usual warnings. Text me when you can. Don't sleep on the road. Keep an eye on Connor. He drives too fast. But there was something extra in her tone that day, something she couldn't quite explain. She hugged me tighter than usual. Just don't go anywhere strange, Eli, she whispered. I laughed it off. I wish I hadn't. The first 3 days were perfect. We crossed into Arkansas, then Oklahoma, watching landscapes shift from rolling green hills to wider, flatter skies. We talked about college majors, stupid childhood memories, future plans, everything and nothing. At night, we camped or stopped at cheap motels. Maya was our playlist queen, and Connor drove like he was born with wheels. Caleb documented everything, from the diner waitress with neon pink hair to the abandoned farmhouse we passed in Kansas. By June 14th, we reached northern New Mexico. The air felt thinner, cleaner, and the sunsets painted the sky in colors I didn't think were real. And that's where things began to unravel. We were low on gas and pulled off near a place none of us remembered seeing on the map. Silver Ridge. It looked like a town paused in the 1970s. Old brick storefronts, a single stoplight blinking yellow, and a diner with a neon sign that buzzed so faintly it sounded like someone whispering. Caleb thought it looked quiet in a nice way. Maya said, feels like a movie set. Connor grinned. Or a ghost town. But me? I felt something tighten in my chest, a warning I didn't know how to explain. The motel, the Ridgeview Inn, was the only place in town. The owner, a gray-haired man with shaky hands and a voice like gravel, slid a room key toward us without saying much. His name tag read, Merritt. Try not to wander after dark, he mumbled. Connor joked. Why, coyotes? Merritt didn't smile. No, just, don't. His tone stuck with me. After dinner, we returned to the motel room. Caleb kicked off his shoes, stretched on the bed, and said he wanted to stay behind and write. He was working on some story, something about a boy who kept dreaming of a town that didn't exist. I'll stay, he said. I need quiet. Connor and Maya wanted to check out an overlook outside town, some scenic point they saw in a local pamphlet. I went with them because I didn't want to leave them driving alone at night. If you get bored, Maya told Caleb, text us. He saluted. Be safe. Those were the last words I heard him say. The overlook turned out to be nothing more than a dusty road leading into darker desert. After 15 minutes, we gave up. But on the way back, Connor spotted something. A house. Not just any house. A farmhouse rotting into the earth. Sagging porch, broken windows, a windmill blade spinning even though there was no wind. That wasn't here earlier, Maya whispered. Connor slowed down. You guys see lights? In the back? I saw them too, faint, flickering, like someone walking with a lantern. Let's just go, I said. Seriously, Connor, don't stop. But he had already put the car in park. Just a quick look, he said. 10 seconds. Maya rolled her eyes but followed him, and because I couldn't let them go alone, I followed too. Inside, the air was cold, unnaturally cold, like stepping into a basement after rain. The smell hit me next, rust and decay, The living room was covered in dust, but the footprints across the floor were fresh. Too fresh. A door creaked. Maya grabbed my arm. Connor stepped closer. From the hallway, a man emerged. Thin, shirtless, filthy, eyes wide like he hadn't seen people in years. He leaned against the doorframe and whispered, "You're early." His voice scraped my spine like a blade. "Let's go," I said firmly. "Now." But the man lifted a hand, pale, trembling, and pointed toward the doorway behind us. "Don't leave the boy alone." That's when the lights failed. Everything went black. We ran blindly, tripping over broken boards, breathing in mold and dust, until we found the door and sprinted back to the car. We didn't speak the entire ride back. But the moment we reached the motel, the door to our room was wide open, and Caleb was gone. His notebook was still on the bed, his backpack untouched, his shoes still neatly placed by the window, his phone plugged in. No signs of forced entry, no struggle, just absence. "Caleb," Maya called out, her voice cracking. "Caleb, this isn't funny." We searched every hallway, every empty room, the parking lot, the diner, the street. Nothing. Connor ran to Merritt's office, pounding on the door until the old man opened it. "Have you seen a teenage boy? He was here just an hour ago." Merritt stared at us with a kind of resigned sadness. "They don't usually take young ones," he whispered. "Who?" Maya screamed. Merritt hesitated, then said something I'll never forget. "This town doesn't call people. It keeps them." We called the sheriff. A heavy-set man named Sheriff Lyle showed up after 30 minutes, chewing on sunflower seeds and looking entirely uninterested. "You kids are worked up over nothing," he grunted. "Maybe he wandered off." "He wouldn't," I insisted. "He doesn't go anywhere without his notebook." Sheriff Lyle shrugged. "Teenagers do things on impulse." That line made me want to hit him. When we pushed harder, he finally snapped, "If he don't want to be found, y'all won't find him. Go back to your room." We didn't sleep. Morning came like a punch. Connor went to start the SUV, and it was dead. No sound, no click, nothing. Maya burst into tears. "This town doesn't want us leaving," she whispered. The mechanic, a man named Reeves, lifted the hood, scratched his beard, and said, "Parts busted. Gonna take a day, maybe 2. Connor swore under his breath. "We can't stay another night. Caleb is out there." Reeves shrugged. "Then y'all better hope he comes back." That evening, desperate, we went to the general store to print missing posters. But inside, something made the hair on my arms rise. There, pinned to an old corkboard, yellowed and curling with age, was a missing poster of Caleb. Same face, same eyes, same scar near his eyebrow. Only difference was the date. Missing since 1994. Maya choked on a sob. Connor ripped the poster off the board, trembling. "What the hell is this?" he whispered. The clerk, an elderly woman with hollow eyes, looked up slowly. "You saw him, didn't you?" she asked. "He always comes back. They always do." "Who?" Connor shouted. "Who takes them?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "This place isn't on your maps, is it? This place isn't supposed to be found. And once it notices you," she tapped the poster, "you're already staying longer than you think." We didn't wait another second. Back at the motel, Connor managed to hotwire the SUV while I kept watch. Maya sat in the back, clutching Caleb's notebook like her life depended on it. As we pulled out, the streetlights flickered. The stoplight turned red, 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 and stayed that way. "We're going," Connor muttered. He floored it. A shadow crossed the road behind us, long, twisted, inhumanly thin. But we didn't look back. The moment we passed the crooked "Welcome to Silver Ridge" sign, the GPS rerouted, the radio came back on, and the engine stopped making the grinding sound it had before. It was like stepping out of a nightmare mid-sentence. We drove until sunrise without stopping. We filed a missing person report in Albuquerque. Authorities searched the area. They found nothing. No Silver Ridge. No Ridgeview Inn. No Sheriff Lyle. No Reeves. No Merritt. Not even the road we'd taken. The investigators treated us like we'd hallucinated everything. But I have proof. Sometimes late at night, when I'm scrolling through my phone, I see something that makes my blood freeze. A picture. One I don't remember taking. It's Caleb, standing outside the general store of Silver Ridge, smiling, relaxed, happy, and there's a hand on his shoulder, a hand belonging to someone tall, thin, and pale, someone none of us have ever seen before, someone who wanted him more than this world did. Story 6. I used to think the open road could fix anything. Heartbreak, restlessness, grief. Just throw everything into the back seat and let the miles do their work. That belief carried me through most of my 20s until the summer of 2011, when I watched someone I loved disappear in a way that still feels like a wound the desert never gave back. Her name was Claire Devon, my best friend since freshman year at Western Ridge University. I was Jordan Hale, the quiet one. Claire was the kind of woman who made strangers laugh in grocery store lines. We became inseparable the way shy kids cling to the one person who speaks their language. She'd grown up in Wilmington, North Carolina, youngest of 4, raised by a mother who collected stones and painted their meanings on the back. Claire was made of that, meanings under surfaces. In 2008, her father died of a sudden aneurysm. 2 years later, her mother followed, the grief taking its time like a slow tide. Claire finished college, smiling through the ache. But I knew, God, I knew, something in her had hollowed out. She used to say, if I stand still too long, the sadness catches up. Back then, we lived together in a small apartment in Redwood Crossing, Colorado. Our routines stitched together by cheap coffee, late-night documentaries, and morning walks where she'd point out birds like they were souvenirs from another life. Nothing seemed wrong at first, nothing at all. On May 12, 2011, I woke to the smell of burnt toast. Claire always burned toast. I found her leaning against the counter in one of my hoodies, staring at the microwave clock like it was giving her instructions. Morning, I said, rubbing sleep from my eyes. She lifted her gaze with a crooked smile. Barely. I need caffeine before I'm legally allowed to be a person. That was normal. Everything was normal. We were supposed to meet her brother Mason that evening for dinner. She'd even asked me the night before if I wanted to split a pizza instead because she was craving something deeply irresponsible. So when she sat at the kitchen table and said too lightly, "Jord, I think I'm going to take a little trip," I thought she was joking. A trip? Where? You hate planning? She shrugged. Just west, I guess. I need a reset. Are you okay? I asked, the question slipping out before I could cushion it. Yeah, just foggy. She tapped her temple. You ever feel like you're waiting for a message you forgot how to read? I laughed awkwardly. Not recently. But she wasn't laughing. There was something behind her eyes, excitement, fear, or some combination. But she hugged me tight before leaving for her shift at the bookstore. So tight, my chest still remembers the pressure. By sunset, she had come home, changed clothes, packed a duffel, and left again. Calmly, quietly, like she was going to the grocery store instead of disappearing into the future. When I came home that night from class, the apartment felt hollow in a way I couldn't name. On the fridge was a handwritten note in her looping script. Don't panic. I'm not running from anything, just towards something I don't understand yet. I'll be back soon. Water the plants, pay rent on time. Love you more than the road. CPS. Tell Mason he was right about sunsets in Arizona. I stared at it for an hour. I didn't call anyone. Not yet. She needed space. She deserved it. But on day 3, when her phone went straight to voicemail, something inside me cracked open. Her brother Mason drove down, furious and frightened. We search her room, he said. Anything helps. We found almost nothing except a second envelope tucked behind her journal. Inside were $140 in cash, a folded map with 3 states circled, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and a typed page that read, "This journey is mine. Please don't follow. Love isn't pursuit, it's trust." Mason slammed the desk drawer shut. This isn't her. This is someone trying to sound like her. But I knew it was her. I'd heard that cadence in her voice for months. We checked her bank activity. Using Mason's old emergency legal authority from years earlier, we traced her purchases. Gas in Moab, a motel in Page, breakfast in Flagstaff. All spaced like she was pacing herself. All calm. Her last transaction was in Winslow, Arizona, on May 15th. Then she vanished. On May 22nd, hikers found a silver Toyota Highlander at the bottom of a slope in the Painted Desert. The car had rolled violently, windshield crack, side mirror torn off, dust thick on the dashboard. But there was no blood, no body, no sign of injury. Inside the car, a half-empty bag of almonds, a water jug, Claire's wallet, cash missing, her journal, pages ruffled but intact, a ticket stub for a documentary screening in a tiny town nearby, a folded pair of jeans with $500 in the pocket, and on the dashboard, lying neatly like a ritual offering, her mother's stone pendant, amethyst, for clarity. The airbags hadn't deployed. The driver's seatbelt showed no stress. Someone sent the car downhill without a driver. My legs buckled when they told me. Parts of her journal were philosophical. She wrote about grief and rebirth and the feeling of shedding a life you no longer fit inside. But some entries felt directed, like instructions. If you disappear, do it gently, not out of anger, out of mercy. Another page. Sometimes the end of the road is just where you finally see yourself. Mason refused to read more. I read every page until my vision blurred. A waitress in Holbrook said she saw a woman resembling Claire who asked, "Are there meditation retreats near here? Somewhere quiet? Really quiet?" Another man near Petrified Forest swore he saw a woman writing in a sketchbook on a cliff at sunrise. Nothing was confirmed, but each call kept me breathing. For years, the case gathered dust until 2018, when Detective Lydia Rourke reevaluated it. She examined the vehicle again. This time, she found what the first team missed. The hood latch had been forced open with a tool. Wires were cut. A crude ignition bypass had been constructed, something that would let the engine start and the vehicle roll without anyone inside. Fingerprints were found on the metal housing. They weren't Claire's. They weren't mine. They weren't Mason's. They matched no one in any system. Rourke called us personally. "Whoever did this either helped her disappear," she said, "or wanted us to think she did." I asked, my voice barely audible, "But why leave her pendant? Why leave her journal?" Rourke paused. "Because someone cared enough not to erase her completely, or because she wanted to go, just not violently." Theories spun like dust devils. Theory 1, she joined an off-grid community. There was one only 25 miles from the crash site. They admitted nothing. No records, no visitors list, no one matching her appearance. Theory 2, she hired someone to help her disappear. People online said underground vanishing consultants existed. Mason hated this idea. She'd never trust strangers with her life. Except, Claire trusted people easily, beautifully, dangerously. Theory 3, the darkest one. She met someone along the way. She shared too much. They exploited her vulnerability. But then why no struggle? Why the gentle arrangement of her belongings? Why let her vanish softly? 2 years after her disappearance, I drove the same route. I don't know what I hoped for. Closure, maybe. Punishment, maybe. At sunset, I reached the sloping ridge where her car had been found. There was nothing left but dust, pines, and wind humming through the rocks like a low prayer. But I swear I felt her, like heat on the back of my neck. I whispered into the desert, "Claire, if you're alive, I hope you're not alone." The wind carried something faint, like a breath exhaled too slowly. I still don't know if I imagined it. On May 12th of this year, the anniversary, my phone rang from an unknown Arizona number. I almost let it go to voicemail. Almost. A woman's voice spoke. "Jordan?" My heart stopped, but the call dropped before I could answer. I called back immediately. The line was dead. The phone company traced the call to a payphone outside a closed-down gas station near Chinle, Arizona, 2 hours from where her car was found. No cameras, no witnesses. But someone had dialed my number. Someone who knew my name. People ask if I think she's alive. I always hesitate, because I don't know what's more haunting. The idea that she died in the desert, or that she's still out there somewhere. Alive, wandering, searching for a message she forgot how to read. I just know she wouldn't leave forever unless she believed it spared us something worse. Sometimes I dream she knocks on my door. Sometimes I dream the desert finally speaks. Either way, the road still feels like a ghost I can't outrun. And somewhere between the mesas and the silence, a woman once walked into the horizon, gentle, thoughtful, deliberate, and never walked back out.